He thought briefly about Jink and Bigger and knew they'd have a ball on the third floor. Momentarily pictured them hanging out there, then shook his head to clear that image. Those two would level the place. He also thought about Scar. Brett reminded him of her, and not because of her hair. Where Scar's was the red of kids' crayons, Brett's was much lighter, more blonde than red. No, their similarity lay more in their manner, completely genuine. What you saw was what you got. During the tour, Brett introduced Reef to a number of patients, most of whose names he forgot the minute she said them. So focused was he on their various physical limitations. It was like a freak show, only free. Many were missing something, an arm or a leg. Others had all the parts, but these seemed to have a life of their own, or no life at all. Most of the time he looked away, but not from any courtesy on his part. They creeped him out. And every one of them knew Brett. She's a wild one, warned a bald man with a handlebar mustache who was slowly pushing a metal walker down the hallway. Nearly knocked me down twice this week already. Yeah, well, next time signal when you're turning, Brett retorted impishly. Reef was surprised people weren't pissed off at her. If he said the kinds of things she did, he'd be sure to get a dirty look, or worse. But everyone she met seemed to enjoy her comments and many stopped to chat. Watching her carrying on with the other patients, he wondered what had brought her to the rehab. Shelley Simpson hadn't told him. He couldn't ask. So, he said later as he rolled her wheelchair toward the elevator for the ride back up to the 6th floor, you fall down some stairs or something? Brett turned to look at him and grinned. You're not real subtle, are you? Reef reddened, unsure if he'd offended her. Look, or something, Brett said. Huh? You asked if I fell downstairs or something. Reef was surprised. Off a roof, he asked. Out of an airplane, she said. Yeah, right. No, really, I did. You fell out of an airplane? He waited for the punchline. Well, actually, I jumped. Look, Reef said, not bothering to mask his annoyance, if you don't want to tell me. I was skydiving. My parachute didn't open. You're shitting me. It was out of his mouth before he realized he'd said it. I mean, Brett laughed. No, I'm not shitting you. Actually, it was my first time skydiving. Sam, that's my guy. He warned me not to, but I'd always wanted to try it, so I paid to take a course. On the last day, everybody got one jump. Some luck, eh? My only jump and the chute doesn't open. Reef remembered something he'd seen in a movie. Ain't there another parachute, he asked. The reserve? Yeah. It got tangled in my lines. Reef shook his head slowly, stopped pushing the wheelchair, and moved around in front of the girl. Christ, he breathed. What was it like? The falling or the landing? Jesus. Well, both. At first I thought, this isn't happening to me. You know, like those nightmares you have when you wake up drenched in sweat. Reef nodded. He'd had lots of nightmares like that when he was younger, and a few since the hearing, since seeing those pictures. Then I panicked, forgot everything I learned in the course. No shit. Almost did that too, which, when you think of it, might actually have made for a softer landing. Reef grinned. The chick had balls, big ones. Then what? He asked. Then I got myself under control and started trying all the things we'd been taught, which didn't work, she shrugged. I found out later that what happened to me was just fluky. The main chute almost always works, and on the off chance it doesn't, the reserve takes over with no problem. It was just a weird combination of events, but hey, I guess when you jump out of an airplane, you should be ready for weird, right? Fucking right, he exclaimed, then remembered where he was. It was nearly noon when Reef returned Brett to the 6th floor. They found Carly, who thanked him for keeping the Turner Terror occupied and making the hallway safe for the rest of us. She gave him a lunch voucher and told him to grab a bite to eat in the cafeteria. You know where that is? She asked. 1st floor, right? Carly smiled. You learn fast. You're going to work out just fine here, Reef. Reef flushed. That was the 3rd time that morning he turned red for some reason or other. Wouldn't Scar have loved to see that, he thought, then realized that was the 2nd time she had come to mind that day. For a moment he wondered where Scar was, what she was doing. Well, Reef, said Brett, I was looking forward to seeing more of you, but there's little chance of that now. He looked at her. Why not? She nodded at the lunch voucher. Carly's sending you to the cafeteria. Clearly, the woman is trying to kill you. The nurse raised her clipboard threateningly, and Brett wheeled around and sped down the hall. Nice meeting you, Reef, she called over her shoulder before disappearing into her room.